Guiding your successful business to become epic is what I'm all about. In 2001, I spent 6 months hiking, backpacking the Appalachian Trail. And that experience gives me a lot of perspective as it relates to business that I think is kind of interesting that I've learned over time. So this is one of a series of videos that I'm calling Business Lessons from the Appalachian Trail. And today, what I'd like to share with you are some thoughts on wearing out your gear, how quickly that happens. So the example I'll use is hiking boots. So when I started the Appalachian Trail, I had 2 pairs of hiking boots. I was going to start out with one and eventually have the other pair shipped to me to swap out. What ended up happening is I hiked in one pair of footwear nearly to Maine, nearly to the end of the trail. And then I got the other new pair swapped out. I think it was in New Hampshire that I got the new pair of shoes. And when I put those on, it felt great, because I'd really worn out the other one. What was really interesting though, is there are quite a few other folks on the trail that were wearing the same footwear as what I was wearing. And I know because I hiked along with them from time to time. I'd see them here and there. And, we would talk about gear and talk about our experience out there. So I know that a lot of the others that were out there wearing the same footwear went through 3 or 4, or some folks went through 5 pairs of the same set of shoes that I was wearing that lasted me nearly the whole trail. And I think that's kind of interesting. So there's a couple of things going on that, as it relates to business, that I'd like to kind of connect the dots on here. Something that leads to that outcome, that contributed to that. When I was in high school, I spent 2 years in marching band. And during those 2 years in marching band, I remember being taught how to very smoothly march or walk on the football field when we were at halftime and running around doing our thing. So I adopted that into my hiking style, my walking style, and my walking gait. It's called G-A-I-T, your walking gait. So it's how smooth or clunky do you move through an area is the whole deal. So when I'm hiking, I roll through that step. I'm not plodding along and really hard on my footwear. I'm really smooth. And the reason I want to be smooth is not necessarily to protect the footwear, but to protect my joints. A lot of my friends who also snow ski like I do have had knee problems and hip problems as they get older. And when I was young, I knew a lot of older people that were skiers and had those issues. And part of what I was thinking is, hey, I want to make sure that I'm as smooth and as fluid as possible in my skiing and in my hiking so that I can take care of myself and my joints not hurt, and I'll be able to do this for longer in life if I take care of myself that way. So that walking gait, that walking style, that attitude, being aware of how I'm walking and how fluid I am in movement all that contributed to how I went through my gear on the trail. I only went through 1 pair of footwear that took other people 3 or 4 pairs of footwear in the same distance. How does that relate to business? So we've got resources that we can use in business, and we can be fluid and planned and smooth with those resources, or we can be reactionary and kind of clunky and plodding along in the business and have these movements and reactions, kind of these emotional reactions or knee-jerk reactions to what's going on around us and happening to us in our business. I'll tell you, the business owners who operate that way, they get worn out a lot earlier than the ones who are more fluid in their approach. What kind of experience or what kind of approach do you need to be more fluid in how you're managing and operating your business? First of all, you need to be a planner. You need to be in the habit of planning so that you're thinking ahead, you're thinking about contingencies, maintaining some reserves and cash. You're thinking ahead on hiring instead of reacting to needs for hires. A couple of indicators that might help you understand if this is a challenge in your business and kind of help you pinpoint it is, Are you wiped out at the end of each day or at the end of each week in your business? Are you at your wit's end, or are you mentally tired? Are you physically tired? Is your business wearing you out? So that's one indicator. Another indicator is, do you have high turnover in your team? Life is a mirror, and if we operate in a clunky, plod along, reactionary way in our business without much planning and forethought, that's going to wear everybody else out around us too, right? If you operate that way, other people are going to get worn out and they're going to leave, regardless of what you pay them. They're going to leave. So we need to be thoughtful about wearing out those resources, burning through our team. A lot of times we find really great team members. Not all the time. We got to test and measure that, right? But when you find a great team member, man, it would be awesome and make life easier if they would just stick around and everybody's good. That's your job, to create that environment. And the way that you create that environment is through planning and thinking forward in the business. As things come up in the business to navigate, you take a moment and reflect on that before you choose how you're going to react. We don't react out of emotion. This is about emotional intelligence, right? We don't react out of emotion. We react after considering and making an intelligent and mature decision on how we're going to react to what's going on around us and happening to us in the business. And take ownership, take accountability, take responsibility for how we operate, how we think. When we're doing that as an owner, that rubs off on everybody else. And if we aren't operating that way as an owner, if we're reacting emotionally, if we're leaning on blame, excuses, or reasons, and denial about things that are going on, then that's also going to rub off on the team. And you're going to burn yourself out, you're going to burn your team out. It's going to constantly be a struggle for you. So my recommendation is, let's think about how we can approach business in a more fluid way. Very similar to when I was on the Appalachian Trail hiking, I had a really fluid walking gait. I didn't plod along. I was real smooth in my approach on the ups and the downs and around rocks and navigating all that terrain. The reason that my footwear lasted 2, 3, or 4 times as long as others is because of the fluidity of my approach. So I encourage you to think about how you can be more fluid. If that's not the case in your business, and if you've got dynamics in the team that are going on, high turnover, stress points, things are a challenge, look at yourself in the mirror and think about how you can change that, because it does start with you as the owner. It's not about the team, it's about you, and the team is a reflection of that. So hope that was a useful perspective, and I'd really love your input on this video. Any takeaways or perspectives you can share with me or the others who might watch this, please add it in the comments. Hope you have the best week ever. Talk to you soon.